Welcome to Albion TV presents the AO Daily Show, your source of real news in an unreal world, keeping you up to date on the latest news, events, and the great community of Albion Online. Today is Monday the 14th of October, and I am your host, Shozen, and with me today is my co-host, Bogul. How are you doing today?
I'm doing quite good, but I heard you're a little bit off the charts.
Yeah, no camera today
What's
because
up?
I look like death warmed over. If you just barely like, it's not good. It's not good. Nobody wants to see it. I don't want to show it.
Oh well.
Life is not grand right now. For those of you who don't know, I had a very long week last week. This is last week today, so news of the week is Shozen had a really long week last week where lots of real life stuff kind of piled up on him. And on Friday, he went to a wedding. And while he was at that wedding, somebody said, "Hey, can you help me pick up this coffee table?"
Wait.
And I said, "Sure."
I was going to ask if you're still hangover from the wedding on Friday.
Oh,
but
let me tell you, they had old fashions on tap. It was pretty good.
What? They were
Old fashioned is a
old-fashioned?
type of drink. It's pretty good, and
Oh.
my cousin has decided in his old age to become fancy. I think it's really the
I
influence
see.
of his new
I
wife,
see.
which I think
I
is
see.
good for him. It's good for him. He's getting a little bit fancier in his old days, and he had cigars, old fashions. Yeah.
So did you tell everybody at the
What I do?
wedding what game you?
Uh,
Yeah. Tell everybody the news from last week, the
Did I
grand
tell everybody at the
important
wedding
thing
that there
that
was a new
happened
map
last
coming
week.
in my game? Damn straight I did. I had this one guy, he was like 75, just eating out of the palm of my hand, and I told him, full loot PvP on a single server, and you can go shit on the king? For sure, dude. It was pretty freaking amazing, and he pretty much enjoyed it. Yeah. There were no 25-year-olds there except for the wait staff.
Oh.
Yeah, like this was
I
not
would
Albion's
love to see
core
that old dude's
audience. Let's
face,
just
though.
say, like it went. There was like an
I see.
11-year-old, and then the age gap went to like 36. I think was the next youngest person there.
Oh well, but since this is the last week in
Mm-hmm.
Albion today's show, and you didn't have time to rehearse talking about the last week's news at the wedding, we
Yeah,
sort of have
yeah.
to do it today, I guess. Catch up on what's been happening,
Well,
what happened over the last few days, weeks,
I mean, when we
or
look at it,
rather last week.
Bogle, last week was all about one thing. When we really came down to it, we got a
Yeah.
dev talk on Monday that dropped early Monday, and we just spent the rest of the week talking about that in some way, shape, or form, and how it affected each phase of Albion. On Monday, we got it hit us. It was unloaded on us. We were just kind of excited. We went through each piece. It was, that was the day where we kind of just like, what is this? What are we getting? Just overload with information. Tuesday, which is typically our newbie Tuesday, we kind of focused more on how this would affect
Right.
newer players, not the newest players, the people just getting off the boat, washing up on shore in their skivvies and going, I need T3. Where can I find T3? Not them. No. We're talking about the guy who's like, well suited to his T5, to his T6, gets his gear on every day, and then finds something to do out in the Royal Continents, which for whatever reason have been overrun by the highest tier guilds in the game. The people who are run 1, 2, 3, and 4 keep hanging out here in the Royals and sucking up these. I don't even know what to call them. Like these barons of the Royals, the barons of the Royals. We'll say we'll just give them a title that's light.
I think you hit a problem there. I don't think we have a name for
Well, see, that's just the thing
Albion
is we
newbies
do
yet,
have a name
like
for
a
Albion.
proper.
There's newbies, right? But then there's that mid-tier crop,
Yeah.
which is probably the great majority
Right.
of this game. This is probably where the vast majority of players make their home and do what they do. And for us, the high tier players, we don't see them and their stories very often. But it was those players. That's who we focused on Tuesday, and we talked about how the world will change for them, what will allow them to get more involved in PvP and the game for them.
Wednesday, we spent time sort of talking about the Percival patch 7, though, which was a longer time in the making. We spent, I think, the Friday prior dedicating a whole episode towards the changes to the in-game silver sinks and the changes to transmutation. I think even on the previous week's Thursday as well. So if you want to hear a discussion on that Percival patch 7 specifically, you can also look at Thursday's show.
Wednesday's show. Well, you mean previous Thursday's show? Yeah, in the previous Thursday show.
Right.
Yeah, we go back and look at transmutation and the effects of patch 6. But on this past Wednesday show, not only did we look at that patch, but we also talked about the things that we didn't know, the questions that came up. What questions arose from this new dev talk that we had with Robin and Dominic? And we had a bunch of questions. And then we didn't have a show on Thursday, did we, Bogul?
No, you had to skip that Thursday. We did a live GVG thing with Lupak a little bit later that night, showed a few city fights. And we had a longer argument discussion.
I wish I was there for that.
Yeah. Well, and then on Friday, of course, we had the great opportunity to talk directly with Robin Henkes, the game director of Albion Online, the CEO of SPI, where we discussed the dev talk, the new map, and were able to ask some very specific questions about some of the unknowns that we discovered on Wednesday, but sort of that came up over the week as well. And I think today we want to sort of do a TLDR of the Friday interview?
I think that's pretty much what we're going to do today for the majority of this show. I don't have my full capacity today, guys. So we're going to do the best we can as Bogul and I go over some of the top things that we went over on Friday and maybe look into some of those answers a little bit deeper that he gave, maybe speculate a little bit, because that was Bogul, that was a really good interview, if I can pat myself on the back, which I can't do right now because I can't reach. So I thought it was pretty good. I mean, we got a lot of new info.
If you haven't seen it yet, look in Twitch chat. I posted the link there. You can also find it, of course, here on Twitch, or I linked it in a bunch of other places as well. If you're watching the VOD of this show at a later point in time, pause it now and watch the interview first, and then come back to this show. But if you have seen it already, then we will sort of, as Shozen said, go through it now and add a few more thoughts to it. And of course, we'd be very curious about Twitch chat's opinions on some of these. Because as we learn every single day, that Twitch chat knows a lot more than we do.
Well informed.
And I think it's
this internet. It's almost like they have the power of Google at their fingertips.
How does Google help with?
It doesn't. It doesn't help with Albion. As you know, you were the guy in charge of the wiki. What do you guys got there?
The wiki helps with Albion. Yeah, the forums help with Albion, and Discord helps with Albion, and to a degree, Reddit helps with Albion.
Does it? Does it not? You can't find those things just.
I think if you go through Google and look at some of the YouTube videos.
Well, let's get to the thing that people actually care about listening about instead of us banter on about Google. So where do we start here? It's first things first. This is a massive undertaking, right? This patch, or we should stop calling it a patch. It is not a patch. It is a content update. It is a like an expansion, if you would.
A major rework.
A reworking of the game that goes far beyond anything that's ever been done in the game. The only thing that I can think of that is close is when they completely changed the way that abilities and armors were done in the game. and you have to go very far back. Yeah, this is
In like
different
alpha,
from alpha
right?
and beta. Like when we
Yeah.
switched over, we had a completely
I see.
different
Okay.
way of doing armors. There were 3 different sets of armor, each with different. It was, I can't even describe it anymore. It was that different. But that was that's the only time I've ever seen this much change. And when he talks about like
So
the changes to the game and how much has to come together, because it's not just this map, it's not just the cluster, the smart cluster queue, it's not just the battle confusion is what they're calling it currently, right? Okay.
I think so.
The battle
Yeah.
confusion, it's not just oh, I almost dropped something there, Bogul. I almost said a word I wasn't supposed to say. Oof. Let's not. Yeah, but
So based on the notes I have here in front of me, it says that they're currently trying to put the things together, right? That's what they are doing right now at this moment. They are in the office. We sort of talked a little bit about crunch and how they try to avoid crunch, but rather look at this as a longer term project and a sustainable project, which was quite a cool insight in general about SBI. But during that, he also revealed a little bit about Season 8 that we saw before in a forum post. I can link it here.
Guys.
But in essence, he said that Season 8 wasn't or will not be a quote-unquote normal season.
By any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
It's...
And he, in the interview, says it will be a mix between a season and an event with individual and guild rewards for, players and, guilds as a whole. But he didn't quite announce the exact timing of when this is supposed to start.
I still think this is kind of up in the air right now, as we're kind of still waiting on.
He only said that the exact schedule will be announced before Season 7 concludes. And then after the Season 8 and after the Queen update, we will have a quote-unquote normal GVG season again. But that doesn't tell us too much about Season 8, right? It's just like, we get some sort of event. I mean, if you think about it, we have a new world. Maybe it's like something that introduces that.
That's what I would say, is that when he says that there is an event coming towards this new world, I feel like they're going to try to tie in Season 8 to be the player lore that goes on to the new continent. Now, he didn't say that so much, but it does sound like they're trying to make it sound like there is an event that's going to occur that will last the entire length of Season 8, and that by the end of it, you will know that something is going. I gotta be careful here. Well, by the end, you'll know that that continent's going away. That's what it is. It's like this story is to tell you that continent is dying, right? Like that's what it is. Like I don't feel like I'm like. And if I did spill it, then I'm sure that's a level of spill I'm sure he'll be okay with. He'll be like, "Oh, Shozen, how dare you tell them? We wanted to, get that out there." And they have a lot of things that they're really looking forward to telling you in the next few weeks. They're gonna have a dribble of info coming out towards this, and I'm excited for it. And it's tough because some of these things, I feel like they're like. Yeah. Okay.
How about we talk about the things
I'm talking? No, I want to get right. I'm still want to talk about Season 8 for just 1 second because this is very important to me. Like that people understand how much this is not going to be like other seasons. Like I know that people are down on the idea of having another season, and they're like, "Come on, let's just get to Season 9 already. We want to fight in this new way." The new season will be an event. Don't think of it as a season as to who wins the season. It's just straight content to engage in for the length of the season. Be involved in it. Make what you will of it. Don't get mad because it's not what you're getting yet. This is a one-time thing that's only going to occur once in the entire length of this game's history. Enjoy it for what it's going to be. Get involved and, like, have fun. Like, that's all I can say about it. And then we can move on to the next thing. Yes.
Okay. Then we talked a little bit about the specific intentions of that patch, or rather of some of the contents mentioned in the dev talk. He sort of specified one thing that I didn't know before. Namely that the Queen update would focus on the world structure, so the distance and the shape of the world, with the intention to try to make the hideout feature succeed. And then over the course of the new year, they still have to do some work in terms of reworking some of the biomes. The specific, zone by zone design isn't going to be 100% complete with Queen, as far as I understand. So they have some, further zone-specific things on their to-do list over the next year. And that's something that's interesting to me because I know a bunch of people are worried about copy pasta, right? And I know that they have this whole plan, but I'm curious to see how much of that gets fixed
right away
with Queen.
Well,
and
that's
how
the
much
thing, Bogul. We did hear about this.
Yeah.
And it's like a mixed bag with this, because we know that coming out in the beginning, we're going to get not straight copy pasta, because, how to say that, he straight up said that no zones will be the same tactically or strategically, as the ones currently now, where every zone kind of is like a cookie cutter of these are where the entrances and exits are, and everyone in a similar position has the same tactical situation. That's going to change. Now, the doodad plop, 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 plop that we kind of have now that's not really super, how do I say, like, well thought out, may continue a little bit in the beginning, because it sounds like what they're going to do is tackle each biome specifically and rework each one so that it's redone with new tile sets, choke points, interest points, focus areas, and redone entirely with purpose over a period of time. And they said that should last almost a year, I think is what he said. Isn't that? Yeah, I think that's what, I don't want to like put words into his mouth, but he said it was going to take a while and that they're doing each biome as a group. And that...
Yeah. Basically, I just wanted to mention that this differentiation is something that came out that I didn't expect. I was honestly thinking that they're done with the zone placement already, but apparently this takes a little bit longer. And of course, you have to see how the map works when it's actually out and when people actually play with it, and how people deal with the new designs you have intended, and see whether or not you have to adjust some of the things, and if the intended designs work out, or if the players just go, nah, we will use this one and abuse this certain mechanic, and then, or a certain strategic location, and then, you have to look at it again. What else is on the notes that we have here? Then we talked about farms a little bit, because I asked about...
Before we even got to farms, we talked about do you want to go right into farms now and skip the routes and stuff?
Well, what do you mean routes? It's just basically he explained what the screenshot was from the YouTube video.
Yeah, and he explained that instead of like before, where like I did kind of go over it just now a little bit, and it's like instead of each one having a particular path, where before you could basically run a straight line from zone, Now there's going to be barriers in between zones, shortcuts to go around zones. And it's going to be interesting to see how these new barriers, making it so that each area is distinctly different, and how you get from point A to B works tactically in knowing your area. Knowing your zone of defense, knowing your way to your portal is going to be more important than ever before. And I thought that was kind of important. But yeah, let's go on to farms and how that big drop that, like, I'm pretty sure that people back at the office, some people at the office didn't know about, because they were like, "You got him to say things we didn't even know." But yeah, it was. I think it might have been the farms in the open world. So Bogle, do you want to talk about that? Because I know that's.
I mean, he basically responded to one of my questions, which was, how will farming work with Queen? Because we had heard in the past that they were considering to put farms inside the hideouts, that for a few reasons that seemed a little bit awkward. And for now, they have decided to try to put farming clusters into the territories in the open world, with the intention to later on, again, probably somewhere mid 2020, question mark, do a rework of farming entirely. Yeah, but again, that's not specific immediately to Queen. So I think for Queen, we will just sort of have the same. We will probably just have a bunch of farms next or close to a territory, right? I think that's what it comes down to.
I don't know if they'll be really
versus.
I think they might try to make it.
I mean, you sort of have, if you don't put them close, then you sort of have to figure out a defense for them.
And I think this goes into my speculation from, like, as far back as we want to go, of my thoughts that a lot of this is about getting people to be active in their zones. And if you own your zone, not just owning it with permission, I own this zone, it says it's mine, but you literally own the zone, because anybody who's not of your, red is dead, basically. If they're not you, they die. If you establish that, one of the reasons to establish that is to protect your guys that need defense all the time, such as your farmers, your transporters, your gatherers. Now, if you do things to consistently encourage people to live around and work around and engage around their little hideout, then that, like, the idea of it being someplace that it's a little bit undefended, that you have to get to, that you really have to work to defend, goes in with this idea of making people try to live in their zone of their hideout. And I think that would be interesting. It also, the more people who live there, the harder it is for, groups to come in and just Shrek you. Just saying.
We also heard that this is, the quote unquote farming rework is still, a 1000% concept phase. So I think, personally, I just think they must have had a game design meeting about this like a few days ago. And Robin must have been like, "Oh, I can tell somebody about this." So this is what I think what happened. So they have these few cool ideas, and they're currently playing around with this. He mentioned in a side note that there will be specific farming locations, right, where you can have quote unquote better produce, that if you go through this specific area, then you'll have better crops for a certain probably biome, and then a different one. So I think there's a bunch of things that they will play around with, but there's no specifics for that. Just plans, hopes, dreams. Yeah, so if you combine the risk of the open world and put it a little bit into the farming gameplay, that should yield a bunch of cool.
And like I've always talked about, like I would love to see a situation where we see our actual laborers out in the world doing something, whether it is if you protect them while they're out, they give a return bonus to you, or if you protect them while they're out, they give a bonus. I mean, if you protect them while they're out, they either get a bonus to when they return and give you goods, or if you protect them while they're out, they give you a bonus to your gathering. Something that actively gets you to go out there with that NPC as both a target and a mini type of in-game quest. You know, I'd like to see these player generated or initiated kinds of quests where if that's what you want to do to make yourself better, you can make it your daily quest to go out and harvest with your laborers. I don't know how it would work for you, Bogul, with your 7,342 different laborers you currently are running. But for some people,
I wouldn't be living in the
no.
Outlands.
But if say laborers suddenly had a special use in the Outlands, that might make you think about it.
Yeah, but I mean, he brought up the idea that they are looking at quote unquote reworking some of the older systems, like laborers, like farming, like crafting, like other things that can benefit from a little bit more depth that is possible through some of the changes made in Queen. You know, maybe like faction warfare as well, that we know about. But here we start into the dark path of
that's totally
speculation.
random.
And I really try to stick with
ignore it. We'll go
what
with that's
we know.
The muscle relaxer talking.
We also do have though some more concrete things he mentioned. First about the royal zones, because apparently a bunch of people did not know that there will be no hideouts in the royal zones. There will also be a removal of territories, home territories, from the royal zones. And that with that, of course, the logic means that the hideouts will be Outland exclusive. So he went through a little bit of explanation there to confirm that again. And then moved towards some of the differentiation of the zones in the Outlands. Because you asked him about, in the outer ring of the Outlands, how will these be different from the center area? And why would guilds want to live in the center versus, phrasing, hiding in a corner somewhere? And he mentioned that, of course, the center plots or the center areas, zones, would have higher enchantment rates. And the crafting bonuses or the resource return rates in your hideouts will be higher the further you go towards the center of the map. So that the outer areas of the Outlands are somewhat limited to discourage the bigger, stronger groups to just settle there. Maybe, hopefully, even to the effect that smaller groups can go to the Outlands, pick an outside area, deal with the limitedness of that for a bit to get a feeling for what it's like to live there, before then taking out some of the more dangerous zones. Yeah. What else do I have on this notes list here? Oh, you asked him whether or not the towers would be limited in terms of tower level, and I think he sort of said that they're thinking about that as well as as one of the limiting factors.
Yeah, they want to do something to limit what was it, like the something to get people to want to go towards the center is what it sounds like. And there's going to be lots of different ways they use towards getting people towards the center, but making it so that the outer areas are useful as well, and more useful for people who are just trying to get their feet wet and learn. I'm interested to seeing, and this, I don't think we got a really great answer on this one, is what they're going to do to limit the overall expansion of like mega alliances, but it did sound like they wanted it to be harder to defend yourself as you get closer and closer to the center, and the more areas you have, the more difficult it would be to defend all of them at once. So that's going to be very interesting to see how that works out. We talked a little bit about the idea of making a line of home plots of safed areas, and they're talking about how to make the bubble something that is both useful for you when you get out of your home plot, but also not something that you would be able to use to daisy chain across the world.
Right. Yeah. Since we're getting up on 30 minutes, I only have 3 more small notes.
Okay.
So I think
I feel like there was a lot more we talked about, though, and we're not getting all of it, Bogul.
One thing that was confirmed is that for now, at least, the battle vaults will stay in towers, but there will be no regular chest in the territory towers. So you will, quote unquote, only be able to store a few combat related items, whatever that means. He also said that the tower lasers will sort of stay, but they can be deactivated as part of killing the new guard commander. That will be essential in trying to assault territory towers. And it will take some time to get him down. But that's part of the gameplay around capturing and conquering towers. And of course, that you can theoretically upgrade the guards around the tower with the tower level. Then we tried to get some information about Avalon out of him. But he was like, he said there will be at least one significant new activity in the new world with Queen. Likely more in the future.
Yeah,
and that's all he said
talked
about
to him for
it.
quite a while after the interview ended, Bogul.
No. Well.
That's all he said on the interview.
Well. Yes, but in practice, we are like, It's sort of hypey. Yes, I have to agree. But it has to be done.
There's a schedule of hype that's coming out, and he informed us the schedule. But I want you guys to know that what we told you is just the tip of the iceberg of what maybe not an iceberg. I mean, it's like the foot in the door. It's the foot in the door. It's a very big. Well, that's the thing. Is usually with an iceberg, Bogul, only like 10% of it is showing. There's 90% left. I feel like it's more like 50-50 right now. And like I feel like there's a lot more to tell, but it's not a whole iceberg worth. So don't get like too. So
it's a modern times 2019 climate change iceberg.
You know how out in the Pacific there's that giant island of plastic? It's like a man-made iceberg of plastic.
Wait, so
that's it. Like you can see the top of the island, but you can't see the floating underneath.
I see.
So yeah, it's not all drinking straws and water bottles, baby. We got some good stuff coming for you. No, it's not garbage. Come on. I didn't see that was my one worry with this analogy is that it was somebody who would say garbage patch. But like, no, it's like, it's pretty much awesome from everything we've heard. I just dug myself. Yeah, jeez.
Thank you, Twitch.
I can't even put my head down to hold my hand in my head. Ah!
Yeah. So he ended the interview with saying there will be more information coming out fairly soon. Probably some of the topics that he mentioned will have their own dev talks. So if some of the information will be, put together in a more concise and compacted formats that fits into a dev talk, that will surely happen over the next few weeks and months. But that all said, we still encourage you to go all listen to this on the side, because we may have missed a thing or two.
And they wondered how they got that new host on the Daily Show. Suddenly one guy said, hey, remember that island in the Pacific? Hawaii. It's Hawaii, guys. It's like Hawaii. If Hawaii was a floating island and half of it was underneath, it's a gorgeous island. Damn it.
Okay, sir. Is that it then? Did we summarize this talk for those who didn't listen to it yet? Did we get everything?
We talked about the secret passages. We
I
talked
think
about
yes
the
is the
portals.
answer. and I think we need to get out of here because we're over time.
All right. And, well, we're not doing any overtime today because I'm going to go to bed and probably take another muscle relaxer. And, oh, God, no, please don't clip that for... All right, Bogul.
Well, I wish you a good nap.
I don't think I'm going to be sleeping. I'm just going to be lying there, groaning as...
So will you think you'll be?
Oh, I will definitely be
tomorrow?
Here for the show tomorrow. You can't stop me from coming to the show. I mean, as long as they can prop me up half dead, I'm gonna be here for the damn show. Like, I will ask that one, Pando Baron. I'm talking to Robin tomorrow. I will ask that tomorrow. There are
whether or not
portal zones can have hideouts. I believe the answer is no. But we don't know that for sure. And so we will ask that. And if I'm not fired, I'll ask that question. I tell you what, I will ask that question even if I am fired. And we will have Bogul tell you the answer. He will just have to find himself a co-host who lets him talk occasionally.
Badumts. So I'm out of here. I wish you all a good rest of the day. Have a good night, and maybe you can see or tune in tomorrow for Newbie Tuesday and some live GVG and Crystal action afterwards. You can of course listen to the interview that was the subject of today's show back on Twitch, on YouTube, soon on SoundCloud once Shozen wakes up again. And then you can watch us every day here live at 18 UTC, twitch.tv/Albion Online. You can also look at our SoundCloud /AlbionTV and our YouTube /AlbionTV.
Before we go,
with that,
I got to do one more thing. I think I figured out what's happening here.
With what?
The lore behind what's going on in the game. Because you know how we've been talking about fracking, elemental fracking, right? Well, the elemental fracking is going to cause the continent to sink. And what's going to happen is a great recycling effort of all the trash in Albion is going to occur. And all the trash that has just been thrown aside. You know how every time somebody dies and you pick the trash off their body and just kind of like throw it on the ground. You just throw it on the ground. Where do you think that goes, Bogul? Goes
right into the sea, of course.
And now, thanks to Fun Stealer, we know where this new continent is coming from. Because what happens is when the energy causes the great island of Mercia, Cumbria, Glauvia, Siluria, Ivia to sink, it creates a lot of heat and a giant sinking sensation too. All the water goes down in a hole. It causes the giant spinning sensation. All the trash floats, though, so it won't go down the hole. It's like, you know, when you go to flush the toilet and it just won't go down the hole.
Listen to this every day.
Think of that happening over and over again with all the trash throughout the entire world of Albion. And it sits there and it spins, and just like a nebula, it creates the new continent of Saxonia. Are we going to name this one after the Saxons? Because that's the only place in Albion we don't have a place for yet.
I think somebody on Reddit posted that we're supposed to have a continent.
Well, Wessex and Essex and Sussex would be the three that we could use. We could call it Flushex.
No. Shozen, we need to go to bed.
All right. Well, I'm glad you guys enjoyed this. It was fun for me if it was fun for you. All right. You guys can catch us Monday through Friday right here on AOTV. So thank you guys for tuning in, and stay classy, Albion. Oh, wait. Raffle. Einherr Jahino, whatever his name is there. He won, and I
Nice.
got one more to pull as well. Let's announce a new one. Pull one more raffle. Kontiki 141. Kontiki 141. You guys have won the raffle. You guys have to message me. Please message me. And you win. All right. Thanks, guys. And tune in next time. It was great to have you. Peace.
Bye.